This is News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM. I'm Johnny Reinhart alongside Michael Arney. We are here live at the Box Factory in St. Joseph, and welcome to the WSJM Candidate Forum for St. Joseph's 2021 City Commission primary election. I want to say welcome to our candidates, and most importantly, welcome to the voters listening on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM FM, on Facebook Live, on WSJM.com, or the WSJM app, and also to those who will listen to today's forum as a podcast or on demand before next Tuesday's ballot count. This is a very important election, perhaps the most important city election in many years, and certainly the most crowded primary ballot in recent memory. Citizens love living in St. Joseph, and they've stepped forward to represent their views and the views of their neighbors on the city commission. That's what democracy is all about. WSJM is pleased to provide the platform for discussion among the candidates, hopefully stimulating discussion among voters before next Tuesday. We're pleased to have 8 of the 9 candidates that are able to join us tonight. Mark Williams was unfortunately not able to join us tonight, but we thank him for also being on the ballot, and indicated that he's on vacation this week, so not able to attend, but we do have 8 candidates. Our candidates will be answering a series of questions put together by Gail Olson, as well as the rest of our WSJM news team and our WSJM St. Joseph City government reporter, Michael Arney. Also joining us tonight to cover this discussion for WSJM News is our reporter back at the studio and afternoon anchor, Andrew Green. WSJM will also like to acknowledge technical support tonight from our friends at TPC Technologies. Owner Ken Kiespert. TPC assisted our technical director, Terry Green, in piecing together all the gear needed for having about a dozen people here to be live all together on the radio and at WSJM.com. And all that said, let's talk about the city of St. Joseph with our candidates. We have had a random drawing to determine order of appearance, and we'll follow it throughout the forum. First up, for opening statements, as we've drawn a name out of the hat, we will have Tess Ulrey begin with your opening statement. Tess Ulrey, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Tess Ulrey. I'm running for City Commission in St. Joseph. I'm not a traditional City Commission candidate. I'm 32 years old, I'm a single parent, and I rent my home. However, I think young progressive voices like mine are important to be a part of the discussions that come up on City Commission. Currently, I'm the executive director of Shadowland on Silver Beach. Prior to that, I've held positions in nonprofits all throughout Southwest Michigan. I think that my experience in nonprofits has lent me the experience that's necessary to oversee financial parts of city government, but also when we're talking about the fun parts of our city, things like events and all those other things that draw people here. I feel like I'm experienced in that capacity as well. I'm not from Southwest Michigan. I moved here as a tourist about 10 years after my parents retired here 10 years ago. I've chosen to live here. I've chosen to raise my children here. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the City Commission to see what happens next in St. Joseph.
Well, thank you, Tess. Next, we'll have an opening statement from Ben Rhymes. Ben?
Hi, thanks. I am a St. Joe native. I have been in the education field. This will be my 19th year. I taught for a number of years. I moved into a central office role up in Matawan Consolidated Schools, the whole time commuting from St. Joe. And after about 12 years of being curriculum director, instructional technology director, compliance officer, state and federal title coordinator of grants, I took a position with Coloma Community Schools as the director of technology about 4 years ago. I'm really excited to be running because my family has a history of service to the city, and I have carried that through with me into my adult life, currently serving as the Cub Master of PAC 623, volunteering throughout the community for Art Fair, and I'm excited to be a part of this wonderful ballot that we have.
Thank you. And next we have Chris Leonard.
Good evening. My name's Chris Leonard. I live on Park Street here in the city. I bought a condo in South Cliff in 1988 and my first entree back into the city. I grew up on Willa Drive. My family then moved to Veronica Court, where I changed from the Catholic school to the public school. I went to Michigan State University and received a degree in landscape architecture and regional and urban planning. Moved to Chicago, developed a staff of 27 in the office, practiced in planning, landscape architecture, and community consulting. We've consulted for a number of communities, North Aurora, Montgomery, for over 15 years. We develop comprehensive plans and zoning ordinances, and I'm glad to be considered as a representative on this city commission.
Thank you. And just in time, Michael Cirola. Michael, your opening statement. Do you have a minute of time to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, first of all, I apologize. Jury duty got the best of me today, and I rushed here from Niles, and I apologize for being late, but I got here as quickly as I could. I'm Mike Cirola. I'm a lifelong resident of Southwest Michigan and fortunate to have kids and grandkids right here in St. Joe. As I committed to running to one of the 3 commission seats, I did a little investigating in the city, try to better understand its operation. And I learned that St. Joe is a $30 million plus enterprise. It's very much like a small business. I thought I can use my experience as a small business person and entrepreneur to try to help craft a framework here that allows all of our kids and grandkids opportunity right here in St. Joe. One of the biggest things I want to do is try to restore good two-way communication and really the trust between the city and its stakeholders. By stakeholders, I mean anyone that lives or works in St. Joe, anyone that owns a business or property in St. Joe, then leverage our best asset, our people, and allow them to innovate, create.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we'll come back to, on the other side of the table here, Elizabeth Thomas. You have 1 minute. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Thomas, though I go by Bits. I grew up in St. Joe and am fortunate to be back in my childhood home and raising my family in the city I love. From a young age, I've been passionate about public service, community, and family. These values have been evident throughout my career, first in the 10 years I worked in government and public policy, and now as I engage with local families as the branch director at our YMCA. I am also serving my 2nd term as the president of the Kiwanis Club. I know how to create and adhere to budgets and develop long-term plans. I understand the balance between our fiduciary responsibility and serving our residents' needs. I do not have a personal agenda. I am a quick learner who is in tune to the pulse of the community. I will be in St. Joe year-round to serve our citizens. I will listen to all points of view, but my sworn duty is to the residents of St. Joseph, not to any political interests.
Thank you. Next, we will have Michelle Binkley. Michelle, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Binkley. I'm the only incumbent candidate. I've lived in the area most of my adult life. I have raised 4 children here. 2 have moved back because they love the area so much. I'm also a special education teacher, and I've been involved in community activities my whole life. That's why I know St. Joe is a very special, unique city with diverse businesses, engaged residents, and beautiful natural resources. So that's why it's my priority to make sure that we retain our charm of our small city, but that we also invest and support our businesses and make our businesses and neighborhoods thrive together. I was appointed to the commission in January, so I know the level of commitment that's involved. I've invested a lot of time in the city, and they've invested a lot of time in me. I've ridden around with the public safety officer, with the inspectors. I've talked to hundreds of residents. I've met with a librarian. So I know the things that our city does right. We have very dedicated city employees, and people love our city, but I also know there are places that we can have improvements. So I look forward to those opportunities and to continue to make an impact on the commission.
Thank you, Michelle. Next up, we have Brooke Thomas. Brooke Thomas, tell us about yourself.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Brooke Thomas. I am a local social worker. I did graduate from Lakeshore High School, but I chose to live here in St. Joe City. Currently for work, I work at the Children's Advocacy Center, where I'm a forensic interviewer. I work with sexually and physically abused children. In that role, I have the opportunity to work in a multidisciplinary team, which means I work with our local law enforcement, prosecutors, CPS workers. So I know how to collaborate and bring different people together. Some of my past experience includes working for the Illinois Department of Corrections. So again, experience with law enforcement there. All these experiences allow me to bring these different teams together and work towards a single goal. I have a lot of leadership experience from my work experience. I have been the board chair at the Out Center. I've been on the Human Trafficking Task Force. So through those roles, I know how to delegate, I know when to say no, and how to lead teams. So Those are the things that I want everyone to know about me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. And our last person for opening statements will be Tom Jennings. Tom Jennings, go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Tom Jennings, and I've been a resident. I'm the second oldest person in the running here. I'm 64. I've had lots of experiences. I've been primarily involved in restaurant and entertainment business, served on Venetian board, among other things. And I'm primarily involved in this to give back to the community that me and my family has been here for a long time, for our entire history. And I feel that we can make St. Joe a better place and make the city commission even more responsive to the citizens. And I'm going to primarily set an example by giving back to the community that I've been in terms of money, time, and effort.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And thank you all for giving your opening statements. Tell us about yourself. We're going to learn even more about you because Michael Arney has a list of questions for you. And to explain this, how this works, if you, Michael, I know the Michael, other Michael, see, there's a lot of Michaels here today joining us. The way this will work is that we will ask you a question and you will answer. You'll have a minute to answer that question. Everyone else, we will get those same questions. We'll go down the line in an order of my choosing. And then the way it will work is that you'll answer. If you need the question repeated, you can do that and ask for that. We'll give you a moment to think about it. But again, this is on radio, so don't be silent. We want to hear your voices. And then we'll go through the line. And then, again, you'll have 1 minute, and I will give you a 30-second warning to finish that. So any other questions? Will all be from Michael Arney from now on. So, Michael, when you are ready, we will go with our first person being asked a question, and that is Ben Rhymes. Ben Rhymes.
All right, Ben, we are looking now at the summertime tourism season. One of the big issues, parking. So the question now, especially in summertime, where can people park? What role does the city commission have in finding new places or better places for people to park?
Where can people park? Currently, we have a number of city lots around the downtown area and down by the beach. Actually, all city residents can get parking permits at the beginning of the year to park in any of those. My family uses those a lot to go down to 2nd Street Beach, and we enjoy it. Parking has always been a problem in the city. It was a problem when my parents had their store down here. It was a problem years before that, and it's probably going to be a problem for this foreseeable future. I know that St. Joe has always been good at finding clever ideas and solutions, and I know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that would love to come in and provide opportunities. Several years we had a shuttle service that went back and forth. But I think in terms of parking, we need to be more open about inviting those people in to give us more of those ideas.
Thank you, Ben. Next, Chris Leonard. Would you like the question repeated, or are you able to take your minute to answer that question?
No, I remember the question.
Okay. All right, go right ahead.
Obviously, parking is a premium because we are a destination spot and lots of people want to come and enjoy what we have every day. And obviously, space is limited. I think there are a number of things that can be done. I think there could be a accommodation for shorter parking stalls and narrow parking stalls for compact cars. I think the shuttle idea is a good idea. At the Downtown Development Authority Board, we're talking about wayfinding signage so that people can find those parking spaces a little bit easier, and trying to come up with some kind of a identification where we can get people to and from those parking spaces as conveniently as possible. And I hope we get to continue the success that drives people here to find parking spaces.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Next up, we will have Michael Cirola. Would you like some time to repeat the question, or are you good to go?
No, good to go.
All right.
Good to go. So you mentioned we have a parking problem. Everybody knows that. Additionally, the problem is probably going to magnify as we're starting to develop the west side of Main Street, which is a good thing for St. Joe. It introduces a bigger problem in that we'll have even more visitors visiting more attractions with the same amount of spaces. One of the ideas I think we can investigate, particularly on the weekend when the volume is the greatest, is looking at spaces that are underutilized, like the courthouse space, which has no traffic on the weekend. And I think that would dovetail nicely into the shuttle idea, which would be able to transport people to maybe 6 or 8 different stops along the city. So those are a few of the ideas that I think we can look at. And then I think we also have to try to prevent people from utilizing our best asset, the beach, and taking up all day parking up top. So whether that's some kind of a timer or something that limits the amount of time in those free parking areas in order to get those parking areas designated for what they're intended to, and that's the commerce downtown.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Next, we will go with Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth Thomas, would you like that question repeated? Or are you
No,
good to go?
thank you.
All right, go right ahead.
First, I would like to say how wonderful it is that our community is so desirable that we attract thousands of visitors. Second, I would like to thank all the residents who put up with our limited parking and traffic. I'm willing to listen to every single idea out there on a parking solution, but I'm not willing to put a hefty price tag on the backs of our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go with Tom Jennings. Tom Jennings, would you like to answer this, have this question repeated, or would you like to answer it?
No, I'm
All right, go right ahead.
familiar with parking. We've had I've been on parking committees and had much debate about parking over the years. And we had a parking meeting that I led a while ago where someone was going to put quite substantial limitations on the parking. And we kind of had a consensus and got the merchants together and we changed that. That's worked fairly well. Most of the year, we don't really have a big parking problem. It is primarily just in the season. The biggest problem would be if we had no parking problem, because that means we don't have any people here. So there are a couple of lots downtown that I think are not being used at all. One of them Mike mentioned is the courthouse. That's obviously a great large parking lot that could be used. And another one that I would love to look into and will do is the old Y, which is unused right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Next, Brooke Thomas, would you like to have that question repeated, or would you like to go ahead?
All set
Go
to
right
go.
ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to repeat some of the ideas already thrown out there, but I do think there are spaces in our city that are underutilized. Several businesses in the area that are not open on the weekends. There's a lot of parking available, maybe north of the river. I think there's a lot of ways to get creative, maybe encouraging more biking, putting more bike racks downtown so that we don't have as many cars. We get people walking, biking, however means they need to get downtown. We can maybe be able to mitigate that parking issue. So I'm open to having more conversations with various business owners, residents, so we can kind of solve that problem together.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Michelle Binkley.
Well,
Go
I
right ahead.
reiterate that it is a good problem to have that people want to come to our beautiful city. The commission has started some talks with the county because our parking problems are the beach problems and the city problems. And the beach problem maybe could be relieved by having going to the kiosk. So we're just trying to work with the county to see if there's ways that we can relieve some of that Silver Beach traffic down there. But yeah, there's some great ideas. And I know that we've been talking about quite a few of them. We could use technology too. We could use like a Spot Hero where we can find there are available spaces that people maybe do not know where those spaces are. We could also do some more 15-minute spots, perhaps for some of the businesses, because some people just want to unload their things they need for the business, or they just want to stop in, and that would help the businesses out a little bit more. I do know that we did a study a little while ago for a parking garage, and it's about 1.5 million then, so probably that price has gone up. So that would be, that would cost the taxpayers some money. But I think all options should be looked at and reviewed to see, because
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I forgot Tess Ulrey up there. I'm coming back to you. So go right ahead.
Thank you. So I think we definitely have kind of a twofold issue here. There's some short-term things that need to happen. Echoing what some of my other candidates said, I would love to see us get more walking friendly and more bike friendly downtown. Cars aren't the only way people access our beach and our downtown. Also, speaking as someone who has worked downtown, I know that sometimes those spots are not utilized the best way. So I'd love to see us kind of take a step back, figure out where people are going when they're in those spots, and make sure that we're utilizing the best possible way. I agree that we have a huge opportunity when we look ahead at where we could add additional parking. Yes, an additional cost, but frankly, an additional revenue as well. So I think if we can keep our sights long-term on the parking and come up with some short-term solutions, we can bring even more people in here. And how great would that be?
Wonderful. Thank you, Tess. And we'll reset here before the next question. For those of you just joining us, this is News Talk Sports, 94.9 WSJAM, St. Joseph, Benton Harbor. And we are here for the St. Joseph City Commission public forum that we are doing for the primary election. And so far, we have heard from 8 of our candidates and had a series of questions. We've heard their opening statements, and we have questions that are prepared by Michael Arney. And to change it up and not go in direct order as in what we did before, we are going to start, as I pull another name out of the hat, we are going to start the next question with Michael Cirola, and our question from Michael Arney.
All right, this is a multi-part question, Michael. What is your vision for the future of St. Joseph? Is it a great quality of life town in which to raise a family, or are we a picture postcard tourist town that exists for the enjoyment of people from out of town? Or can it be both? How can we strike a balance?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think we absolutely can strike a balance, and we need to. One of the things that I think I can bring to the table as someone who's been here their entire life is honoring kind of the history of St. Joe and understanding its best quality is its quaintness. And that's why I think it draws families to this area to raise their kids. At the same time, we have to face the reality that tourism is going to be part of our future and probably needs to be part of our future. So we have to balance the things that make St. Joe great, and we have to embrace the opportunity that's going to be presented to us in the way of new business opportunities to draw even more tourists. That can be done in a responsible way. I just think it has to be somebody that understands business, but yet understands what's important to local people, and I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We'll now have Chris Leonard answer that same question. Chris?
Thank you. I agree that it's not an either or choice. It's a both choice. And I think that serves everyone well. Obviously, my background in community planning and landscape architecture gives me an edge in terms of how to do those things. I think we have underutilized natural resources. So anytime we can trade bikes for cars, walkability for parking spaces, along with some new technology that they have for wraparound buildings that have dual uses to accommodate parking, all of these things make sense. And I think that if we can connect the neighborhoods to the downtown and encourage more open space and parks as that linkage, we'll be able to wear both hats simultaneously.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And next we will have Ben Rhymes. Ben Rhymes, go right ahead.
I'm going to echo the balance. I don't like either or questions, and I always strive for balance. As a former teacher, I know it's important that when you're working with individuals to find a relationship and a compromise that works for both. We're a pretty vibrant city. We have industry. We have a working commercial harbor that we continually are fortunate to have support for. And I think it would be a shame to go all in on tourism and neglect those businesses that are here in town. So I'm going to be with Mike and Chris here and try and find ways to continue to engage city residents so that their input is always paramount when we make decisions about the future of the city and where we invest our resources.
Thank you, Ben. Next up, we will have Tess Ulrey answer that same question. Go right ahead, Tess.
Thank you. I think I'm in a great position to answer this question because I am the one here who didn't grow up in Southwest Michigan. I moved here because this is an amazing tourist destination, and that's why I visited in the first place. But hand in hand with me coming here to visit the beautiful lakes, be a part of the awesome brewery scene when that was popping up. Part of that was that it seemed like a really vibrant place for me as a young person, me as a mother, to come and raise my children. And combining both of those, I think, is really, really valuable. I think we need to look at tourism as an opportunity, not as a burden in our community. With that being said, some things that We know we need to keep young families. That's what's going to keep St. Joseph moving ahead. And so I think we need to look inward as well to make sure that the decisions we're making at a city commission level are truly creating an equitable, diverse, and frankly, a safe and compassionate community as well.
Well, thank you, Tess. Next to Elizabeth. Elizabeth Thomas, go right ahead.
Oh, could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely.
Yes. The question is, what is your vision for the future of St. Joseph? Is it either a great quality of life town to raise a family? Is it a picture postcard tourist town, the enjoyment of out-of-towners? Is it both? And how can we strike a balance?
Thank you. Yes, so I would say all of the above, certainly. I think we can focus as much on events as we focus on events in the summer, and I think if we can focus on events in the fall and winter and spring that would appeal to our local families, that would be a nice draw, and also hopefully boost some tourism in the off seasons. I think if we continue with our trail system, I think that's a perfect thing for both locals and tourists. And then I think we need to continue our policies supporting our businesses so that residents can earn a steady income throughout the year in addition to the tourism activities.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we will have Tom Jennings answer that question. Go right ahead, Tom.
That's a good question because I've also spent 12 years in New Buffalo simultaneous with being in St. Joe. And the one thing about St. Joe that I always liked, I like both towns, but St. Joe had a year-round business because we have residents that live here year-round. And so we weren't dependent totally on the 3 months that the tourism season is. So it is very important. I think we do need to embrace both, and we should be all about promoting events. And if I'm elected, and even if I'm not, regardless, I plan on getting involved in that, promoting events, and contributing and causing those to happen. I've done a lot of special events, been involved in that in Kalamazoo and here with festivals. And so I've got some expertise in that area.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Next, we'll have Brooke Thomas answer this question. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to echo everyone's statement that we can find a balance of both. A lot of what I'm hearing from friends, residents through my conversations is that we do like some of the tourism, maybe not all of it, but people like the restaurants, we like the activities, we like the beaches, and we like that it's a vibrant community. The way to achieve that balance is to keep having ongoing conversations with our business owners, our residents. I know the commission has already begun that process of trying to communicate more effectively with businesses and residents, but we need to do that more and more often. Make it easier for people to communicate with the city commission so that we can find that balance and give everybody a voice to see what the city can be.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. And Michelle, do you need the question repeated or are you ready to go?
No, I'm good.
All right.
All right, this is when I was appointed in January, this was the thing that I thought was most important, was to retain our charm, but keep our businesses going. And I've seen the commission do that. I'm excited to say that we meet with the businesses, we meet with the DDA, we meet with St. Joe today. One of the things we approved were the lights in the winter, not the new ones that came in last winter downtown. And I think that brings more tourists in the winter, which is great. And we will continue to have meetings with the businesses so we can work together with them to help them thrive. But also for our residents, we've approved a lot of things. My heart is with outdoor green spaces. We've approved a new park on the river. We've also added more enhancements to the parks. With Cornerstone, we will have a water taxi starting. We're going to do that on Labor Day. So there are a lot of ways that we can work together with the DDA and St. Joe today with our residents to make sure that we keep a balance of tourism and charm for our residents also.
Wonderful. Thank you. And as it is 6 o'clock, we do want to mention it is 94.9 WSJM News Talk Sports, St. Joseph Benton Harbor. And we are here in the Box Factory for the St. Joseph City Commission candidate forum before the primary. And we've been asking a series of questions, and you have all been wonderful answering these questions. And we're making it fun and exciting, not only for you, and changing things up as far as the order goes, but also making it fun and exciting for people watching on Facebook or listening at home or listening wherever they are on the WSJM app. And as I pull the name out of another hat, I've got hats everywhere here today. The person that will be getting this next question first from Michael Arney is Brooke Thomas. Michael?
All right, Brooke, the city of St. Joseph, I believe, and Michelle Binkley, you may be able to correct me on this or not if I'm wrong. Late last year or early this year, one of the two, turned down a Black Lives Matter mural on the street in front of St. Joseph High School. There were several reasons that were given. Was the city correct or incorrect in doing that?
Very good question. I think that the city residents showed up in good force for that debate. I heard a lot of people wanting that mural to happen. I do not know the details exactly of why that was turned down. I would like to know more about that because I think in this time that was a very important piece of our history, one that we need to explore more. My campaign is a city for all, and I think that we need to make this a city for all, no matter your income, your age, your gender, your skin color. And I think that was a good opportunity to show that. And I would like to continue that conversation moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. And Michelle, we'll go with you next. Michelle, would you like the question repeated, or are you ready to go?
No, I think I can answer.
All right.
I was not on the commission at the time, but I do know that I heard quite a bit about it. I know that the commission is always thoughtful about things that are brought to them that are controversial. So there was a lot of discussion about it. And so I think that we can trust that what the decision that was made was a good decision, but we also need to look into that. So it was believe it was on public property. I think that, you can always look back and think, oh gosh, that was the wrong decision. But sometimes you just have to move forward with the decision that you make and the things that you are exposed to. So do I think that then the residents went and did some other things that were good for that? Yeah, they had some opportunities to do their own thing aside from the city or aside from the commission.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Tom Jennings, your turn.
I watched the debate on that, and I think that, to be frank, I think that, which I usually am, I think that we spent too much time on that. I don't think it was a good idea. They ultimately didn't do it, but I thought they spent too much time on that. And it's not really an issue that I think should have been dealt with that long in the city commission and debated that much. Frankly, that's a partisan organization that has one point of view, and it didn't seem to me to make sense to put it in the location they were, which was the essentially driveway into the high school. I think it would have been divisive, and ultimately I'm glad that I agree that it shouldn't have been done.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Next, we'll go with Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth, you have 1 minute. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I do believe that in order for all lives to matter, Black lives must matter. However, I trust the leadership of our mayor and city commission for making the decision that they felt was best for the city. And so I suppose at this time I would stand by that.
Thank you. And Tess, I'm not sure if you want the question repeated, but I would like Michael to repeat the question for those people listening at home or watching live. If you feel free to please restate that question for us.
Sure. The question was, late last year, the City of St. Joseph City Commission turned down a Black Lives Matter mural, which would have been painted on the street in front of St. Joseph High School. And the question is, was that the right decision?
Tess Ulrich, you have 1 minute.
Absolutely not. It was an incredibly disappointing decision to see our city come to that. We can't shy away from the fact that we live immediately across the river from Benton Harbor. Speaking as someone who was heavily involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, I was so disappointed in my city when that was the decision that was made. I understand that it's a scary thing to talk about, and I understand that these things can be challenging conversations. But ultimately, when we zoomed out, not just looking at the lens of St. Joseph, but looking at the lens of our country, I feel like that was a really, really poor decision. Following that up by saying, oh, well, we'll do something else, I feel like it not only was disappointing for our community. But frankly, it took the wind out of the sails from a lot of the kids as well. If the kids truly are our next generation, we need to honor that, and we need to honor those type of things as well. So in conclusion, no, I absolutely do not agree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. Next, Ben Rhymes. You'll have 1 minute. Go ahead.
I believe at the time, what it came down to was trying to adhere to the ordinances of the city and what was allowed on city streets. And it was a difficult decision for the commission to make, especially because I know that there were members of the commission and a lot of members of the public that were involved with neighbors organizing against racism here in the area, which I was actually thankful to see that with all the drama that was going on around the country from a lot of vocal individuals on both sides of the issues, we had a lot of really excellent examples here of people coming together and working together on that. So I would love to see the commission continue to work with that group and possibly the United Civic Monument organization to see what they can do.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Leonard. Chris Leonard, go right ahead. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. One of my big points is context, and I think that trying to answer a question or trying to resolve an issue without knowing the context, it's kind of difficult. I trust that the political system worked the way the political system would. Maybe they made a good decision, maybe they made a bad decision. The important thing is to not forget the decision and to move forward, which they're doing now with other types of opportunities, so that we can have a much more inclusive society here in St. Joe.
Thank you, Chris. Next, Michael Cirola. Michael, you have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I believe the correct decision was made. When you look at the issue, who can argue that Black Lives Matter, or who can argue that all lives matter? Yet somehow that became offensive when you tried to make that point. Like a lot of movements, I think it started out well-intended, and then a lot of things were added to it, which some people took exception to. That's why I don't like labels. I'll say that about anything. I mean, labels are something that people hang on you. You never hang them on yourself. And then with those labels comes all the baggage that you don't want to be associated with. I'm very proud of how St. Joe interacts with our neighbors in Benton Harbor. I don't shy away from that one bit. I am for something that is more actionable and less words. If we want to get involved and make a difference in Benton Harbor, I can get behind something like that for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. And do want to say we've been moving really fast here this evening. So do want to say thank you to people listening, News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM, watching on our Facebook page, and also the WSJM app, and those that will be able to listen to this on demand to today's forum as a podcast or on demand on our Facebook page before next Tuesday's ballot count for the primary. And this is a group of 8 of the 9 people that are on the ballot for this primary election. And we thank you all for joining us, all the candidates for joining us. I'm Johnny Reinhardt from The Morning Show alongside Michael Arney. And we have also pulled another name out of another hat. I don't know where these hats keep coming from, but we have pulled another name, and we will start this next question from Michael this is addressed to Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth Thomas, you will be the first one to be able to answer this question.
All right. Elizabeth, property taxes in St. Joseph are high. Now, many residents of surrounding townships pay half or less in property taxes for a similar home than in the city of St. Joseph. Why is it justified? And what can be done to make it more affordable to live and own a home in St. Joseph?
Thank you. Yes. In September, when I pay my tax bill, that's not my favorite month. However, I think it's part of the decision you make when you live here. All these wonderful amenities that we have, they have to be paid for. And while I don't have a solution offhand at lowering taxes, I certainly don't want to raise taxes. I think our city government does very well handling the money that we have, and so I'd like to continue that. And yeah, that's my answer.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, Tess Ulrey, you'll have 1 minute.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the
Thank
question
you.
is, property taxes in St. Joseph are high. Many residents in surrounding townships pay half or less in property taxes for a similar home than their St. Joseph city friends. Why is it justified, and what can be done to make it more affordable to live and own a home in St. Joseph? I know you are a renter. I think you are the only renter that we have here, so it's an interesting perspective as well.
And that's why I wanted that to be repeated. Yeah, so I am the one on this candidate slate that is a renter. So while I don't pay property taxes, I do pay a significant amount in rent that contributes to the owner's property taxes. I completely understand living here, living in this city, having lived in a lot of other places, why those taxes are so high. And like Bit said, our city does a fantastic job with those resources. I have nothing but good things to say about how that's been projected. As a renter, I'm not sure that I have much to say about the property taxes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. Ben, you have 1 minute.
I've knocked on a lot of doors in the past few weeks, and taxes have come up more often than not. And one of the things that I've always felt as a resident of the city and a taxpayer is that we get really good value for those taxes. And I actually found that repeated by a number of residents as well. My parents live in the township, and they would love if we lived closer to them, especially with my kids. And I said, yeah, but we've got, amazing services here as far as the brush removal and snow removal and responsiveness to leaks in the water mains infrastructure, things of that nature. South Haven recently partnered with a group out of Chicago, I believe, to redevelop some of their sites to build more affordable housing, especially now with the squeeze on the housing market. And I would love to see the City Commission do the same thing moving forward, because we have a lot of opportunities here in the city to do something similar.
Thank you, Ben. Next, Chris Leonard.
Thank you. The tax question is obviously a very difficult one, and the city does not have total control over how those taxes are assessed or how they're collected. You have two different figures on your tax bill. One is your taxable value, and the other is your assessed value. The assessed value is hopefully what you want to sell your house for, or half of what you want to sell your house for. Your taxable value might or might not be equal to that same number, but that caps the amount of money that the community can protect. The best way to encourage more tax base is to encourage development and bring new people into town, do more renovation, attract more business, grow the whole. If we grow the whole, then we increase the assessed value of the whole community, and that will drive down taxes. But it's through growth that you drive down taxes.
Thank you, Chris. Michael, would you like the question repeated, or are you ready for your 1 minute?
No, I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, this is, we enjoy our property values as a result of the beautiful waterfront we live on in this great town, and it's a little bit of a double-edged sword in that regard. So the taxes are going to be a little bit higher. As others have mentioned, we have great services here with our sidewalks and our accessibility to downtown, some of the other services mentioned. But one of the things that taxes allow to happen here is the fact that we've got a top 10% public school system in the state. And if it were looked at on a national level, I think it would rank at least in the top 10%. So sometimes you get what you pay for, right? I think we have to make sure we're efficient in our use of the money. And that's one of the things I want to do as a business person, is to look at that and make sure we are using money efficiently. And I've knocked on about 1,900 doors with my wife so far. Most people have told me they're okay with the taxes they're paying as long as they're assured it's being spent efficiently.
Thank you, Michael. Next person to answer that question will be Tom Jennings. Tom Jennings, go right ahead. You have 1 minute.
Property taxes are higher in St. Joe than other areas. We all know that. I do think that having some business people on the city commission may be able to limit that or control that a little bit. As Mike mentioned earlier, it's a $30 million business. That's a big company. It's a pretty big company. And so using our money effectively and having commissioners with a business background should maybe we can save some money in some places. Having said that, it is more expensive to run a city than a township, and that's one of the problems in our country, is cities get stuck to a large extent with the infrastructure issues, because it's always harder to maintain a core city than it is in outlying areas. So there always going to be more when you're trying to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom Jennings. Next to answer the question will be Brooke Thomas. Brooke Thomas, go right ahead.
All right, thank you. Yes, I'll echo the sentiment that taxes are high. I do believe that most of my conversations have produced the answer that, yes, we expect it to be high. We live in a beautiful city with great beaches, great amenities, great schools. I do want to take a deeper dive into the look at lower and middle income families. As a homeowner, I know the price of a small home, which I have. So I want to make sure that we're appealing to everybody, get some younger families in here and make sure that we're not washing out those voices. So those are some things I want to keep in mind.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. Next, and last but not least, Michelle Binkley.
I'll probably reiterate mostly what everybody else said. We do know our property taxes are high, but I do think they're justified. I think our services are great. And I will say the same thing, talking to people, the residents throughout the city, they say, oh, our property values have remained stable even through the recession that we had, and we have good value with our taxes. So I haven't heard complaints. And yes, people do move here. We can't, I mean, the houses are being sold left and right. So people still want to move here, and they do move here for our services, for our schools. So I would say, yes, they are justified.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you all for answering that question. And as I do like to make this random for everyone, we will have the next question be addressed back to Michelle Binkley. But for just a second, do want to say this, if you're just joining us on our Facebook page, hello, I'm Johnny Reinhardt. This is Michael Arney. People listening on the radio have no idea where I'm pointing, but this is News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM. And I think we've heard some great opinions, a lot of differing opinions. And I feel like this is a really great thing that I hope the people that are St. Joseph residents are taking all of this in and hearing all this information before the primary that is happening August 3rd. But I also thank Michael Arney for putting together some great questions. Again, the next question will be addressed to Michelle Binkley. Michael, you're up.
All right. Several people have talked about what they have heard when they've been knocking door to door on the campaign trail. I would like to know from each of you what has been one of the more popular things that the city of St. Joseph has done correctly, and what is something that the city of St. Joe needs to do a little bit better. Let's take taxes out of this because we've already dealt with that in the last question. So the question here is, what have you heard the city has done the best, and what have you heard most of what the city can work on a little bit better?
Okay, so first of all, I'm just delighted that everybody has been so gracious throughout our entire city, and all the people that have been going door to door with me have been said the same thing. Everybody is just really gracious. And I guess mostly what I've heard from people has only been positive. I have hardly heard any negative things. And some of the things they said is that they appreciate our parks, that we have just created some new amenities in our parks. We have 2 new dog park areas. We have benches coming in. We're going to have the river park on the river. I'm trying to think. So our green spaces, and they say that they would like to see those develop, but they're really happy that we have as many green spaces that we have, places where they can be outdoors. I would say I haven't heard very many things where people have said that they want things changed, but I think that they don't know how to approach the commission if they want some things, and they may not know what process to do if they want to. So I think maybe a step would be to help residents understand
Thank you, Michelle.
how they can approach us.
And next we'll go with Michael Cirola to answer that question. Michael?
Could you ask it again? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes, the question is, when you've been on the campaign trail, what have you heard the most that the city is doing well, and what have you heard the most that the city could do better?
Okay. I'll start in that order. People love the amenities here in St. Joe. People love the accessibility to the downtown area and the neighborhoods with the sidewalks tying all together. It kind of dovetails into what others have talked about getting more walking and bicycling, at least from local people where that's practical. People love the effort being made to extend the season here, not just for our tourists, but for locals as well. Some great things that have been happening as the ice carving downtown, the Christmas lights and those types of things, mannequins in the window. those types of things, events that draw people downtown. I do think approachability, as Michelle said, and ability to be heard by both residents and businesses, and providing, I guess, an avenue to feel comfortable enough to voice some of their concerns. I think there's been some difficulty in the downtown district with some businesses that has been unaddressed, and I think that's something that needs to change going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And next, Chris Leonard, you have 1 minute.
I'll try and be short. How can we question the quality of life we have around here? Everyone recognizes that we're all here for that very reason. There's really not much criticism you can allege in that way. We certainly can do improvements, and I think that happens every day. The commission is really on top of that. The one thing that they seem to sometimes not get straight is listening to the public, listening to contractors, and how long it takes the process to get something done. So the good news is that we love this place, and the bad news is it's hard to get there sometimes.
Thank you, Chris. Next, Ben Rhymes, you have 1 minute.
Thanks. A lot of people spoke to the excellent parks and the investments that we've continued to make in our parks and develop open spaces. And along those lines, there were a number of people. I talked to one woman who'd been in the city for 30 years, and she was curious as to why we don't have an excellent trail system stretching through the town like a number of other cities along the lakeshore. And so she would like to see, and a number of people would love to see us go even further on the parks. Infrastructure was another one that was a double-edged sword. Everyone loved the infrastructure and the fact that we are actively, as a part of the master plan, addressing our infrastructure needs, replacements, and upgrades. People would just love to see that go faster. So that's really what it is. A lot what everyone else has said. The things that we provide are great, and the complaints are it just can't happen fast enough.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Next, Tess Ulrey, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I have heard excellent things about our schools, and as a Lincoln Elementary parent, I have to echo that as well. So hearing excellent things about our schools, and especially what our community can do for families with young kids. There's always something to do in St. Joe, and especially even, seeing the fountain going in the summer and the farmer's market. There's so much accessibility here for young families, coupled with an amazing school system. That's a really, really incredible opportunity. As I knock on doors, I am an unapologetic progressive, and sometimes my reputation precedes me. And so a lot of times when I have these conversations with people, I do hear some ongoing concerns about some of the social justice work that the City Commission is doing. I understand it's a divisive topic. I've heard both sides of it. A lot of what I've heard from my peers is that we want it to keep going, and we're worried it's not going to. So I look forward to continuing to advance that social justice work that the committee has already put into place.
Thank you, Tess. Next, Elizabeth Thomas. Do you need the question repeated, or would you like to go? Go right ahead.
I think our city manager and all the city workers do a lot correctly. We just came out of a pandemic, or mostly came out of the pandemic, and look around. Our community is safe. Our community is clean. We have new businesses opening their doors. Our finances are in solid shape. And while you may not always agree with their decisions, I do think it's important to acknowledge their good work. I think we could take an even deeper dive into combating erosion and protecting our beaches, waters, and all our natural resources. Our beach is obviously vital to our community and must be protected by balancing development and preservation. And I will seek out innovative solutions and listen to experts and stakeholders to accomplish that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, Tom Jennings. Do you need the question repeated, or are you ready to go?
No, I can go. I think what we do well is this is a friendly place to live. Life is simple here. I talk to a lot of people that come in the restaurants, and they love our town because life is not too stressful. It's a 10-minute town. It takes 10 minutes at the most to get from one place to the other. We have a good police department. I think they do a good job. What we can do better is it could be easier to do business with the city or in the city. It could be easier to do business at City Hall. It could be easier to get signage done, to get projects started. That process is a little cumbersome for folks. I've had quite a few comments from people on that. That's only relating to a few folks. Not every resident is interested in that. But as far as if you're in business and you want to put a sign up, it could be a lot easier.
Thank you, Tom. And lastly, Brooke Thomas, you have 1 minute.
All right, thank you. I like this question because I've been keeping a list of all the things that people have been talking with me about. Some of the positive things are the downtown vibrant scene that we have with all the businesses. People are liking that the city and St. Joseph today have come together to do these open houses, to begin these conversations, to figure out what's working, what's not working, what can we do to improve that relationship. Some of the things on my list that people were not such fans about include the traffic, the parking, the noise of cars drag racing down the street, some issues that are mostly for police issues. One person mentioned stump grinding. I'm not sure where that was going, but it was something thrown out to me. So again, what I'm going to say is that we just need to keep having these conversations, because as people throw these things out to me, I know what's kind of a hot button for people, and what is just maybe a little bit more sparse. So we got to keep those conversations going.
Thank you, Brooke. And as we've drawn out of a hat throughout this entire time to have the next question be asked, this person is Chris Leonard. Chris, you will get the next question from Michael Arney.
All right, Chris. City Commissioner is a nonpartisan office by state law. No candidate is asked to declare a political party affiliation, but, and no names are going to be revealed with this question, one of the parties got involved this time around, apparently by a de facto endorsement of 3 candidates in a mailing. Several leaders of the other party reacted strongly. In retrospect, was this new political twist a good thing, something that needs to be avoided in the future, and why? And I can repeat that if you need.
Wow.
I saved this one.
Boy, am I glad I got the last question. I don't think any of that's appropriate. We're not here to be Republicans or Democrats, so we're here to do good for the people. I think that when we end up picking up sides, Mike said earlier today, when you get sides, you get labels, and that's where all the bad stuff happens. We need to rise above that, follow state law. If we do what's right, we stay out of all of that quagmire of that ridiculousness.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. And next we will go to Michael Cirola. Michael?
Well, this is what's happened on the national scene, and who can make the argument that we've seen anything positive come out of that. I think making things partisan can help but make the issue worse. At one of the DDA events where businesses were meeting with city leaders that most of us were at, I mentioned to somebody, wouldn't it be interesting to be able to put ideas on a screen and not attribute who said them? I think we could make some real progress that way. Ideas are ruled in and ruled out too often based on party. And I would like to say, St. Joe is a unique town. It has its own issues that are completely independent from what's going on in the national scene, and I don't think there's any room for partisanship in this race.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. And next we will have Michelle Binkley answer that question. Do you need it repeated, or are you ready to go?
I think I'm ready.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, it's been an interesting election, and I believe that nothing illegal was done. I believe that it's up to the residents and the voters to decide what they think about that. And I just think that everybody should run the campaign thinking about what they want to do for the city, and then the voters will see what it is they want to do for the city.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Brooke Thomas, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. I did receive this question several times on my door knocking, and I'm glad that people are talking about this. When a party approaches me and says they like my values and they want to support me, I'm going to say yes to any party that says that to me. So that tells me that I have good ideas. As a social worker, I come from meager means, and so if somebody's willing to help me out and promote me and my ideas, I think that's a great idea, because I think I do have a lot to offer this city.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. Tom Jennings, you have 1 minute.
Well, I think that it is a nonpartisan race. I have no control over what political party backs anyone and whether they decide to do that. I can't worry too much about that because it is what it is. I don't have anything to say about what party should support who. So I'm just kind of doing my thing. I'm saying what I say, as I usually do. And I'm not shy about my opinions, but this is not about my opinions. It's really about the city and driving it forward. And so that's what I'm interested in pledging my efforts to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Next, Elizabeth Thomas. You have 1 minute starting now.
Will you repeat the question, please?
Yes. The city commissioner is a nonpartisan office by state law. No candidate is asked to declare their political party affiliation. One party got involved this time around, apparently by de facto endorsement of 3 candidates in a mailing. The several leaders of the other party reacted strongly. In retrospect, was this a good thing or something that needs to be avoided in the future, and possibly why?
Thank you. I'm certainly not going to shame anyone, but this is a nonpartisan election, and personally, I will honor that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Tess Ulrey. Tess.
Hi, I was one of the candidates that was endorsed by the Michigan Democratic Party. I am very proud of that endorsement. While I understand a nonpartisan race, and I know that my fellow candidates understand a nonpartisan race, I also trust that my community understands a nonpartisan race. But stepping back, 2020 changed a lot of things. While I am proud to be endorsed by the Democratic Party, they approached me because of my values. It wasn't the other way around. And so again, zooming out from St. Joseph, while our role here is for St. Joseph, if we have a zoomed in, hyper-focused lens on St. Joseph, that's not going to move us forward. That's not going to help us attract more families. So I'm very proud of my endorsement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. And lastly, Ben Rhymes. You have 1 minute.
Thanks. I've got a lot of conservative leaning friends. I've got a lot of Democratic leaning friends. I've got lots of friends that are apolitical and take a look at each and every one of the issues as they arise. I have reached out to a number of individuals and organizations, and I've had a lot of people ask me as well. And I was willing to talk to anyone that was eager to support me for this race, because I've got a lot of people that value the thought and the time that I put into decisions. I've made a career of it in education, and I've built a career on listening to people and taking a look at each situation as it arises and figuring out what's the best solution forward, not based on a political affiliation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And we, again, when you mentioned time, we want to thank everybody for their time joining us today. I know it's been about an hour or so, but we still got some time to go and a few more questions to go at that as well. But those of you joining us on our Facebook page, I hope we got my good side here. And you can also not only watch this live, but if you are just now catching it on your Facebook feed, you'll be able to watch it in its entirety after we finish this. And then also you can listen on your radio, 94.9, and on the WSJM app and at WSJM.com. Also, that will be available on demand by going to WSJM.com. And we appreciate you, and we hope you are also getting some great information for when you hit the ballots or hit the polls to put the names on the ballots for this primary. And our next question, as we've chosen randomly for the next person to be asked, that is Tom Jennings. And Michael Arney will ask this question. Go ahead.
The question I have for you is, Berrien County has many governmental units, cities, townships, villages, and the county government. What should be St. Joseph's role? Does it need to be a leader, a follower, just one of the pack? How can local governments work together for the good of the area and to benefit taxpayers?
That is a great question, and I've got a particular interest in it. I believe that there's quite a bit of governmental units in Michigan. If you look at how many governmental units there are, it's unbelievable how many little townships there are. To that end, it's expensive to maintain all those different governments. And that has resulted in us having 3 water providers, 3 different infrastructures. We don't really need 3 infrastructures. We could be sharing those and saving each of the communities a lot of money. So if I'm elected or if I'm not elected, I would urge us to do more to cooperate with the different townships. These are very small municipalities, and it could be a lot more efficient.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Next, Brooke Thomas, you have 1 minute.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question is, Berrien County has many governmental units, cities, townships, villages, and the county government. What should St. Joseph's role be? A leader, a follower, one of the pack? How can local governments work together for the good of the area and to benefit taxpayers?
I think it should be a collaborator. We need to bring all people together. That's kind of been my theme, where we work together to find solutions. I mentioned in my opening statement that I work in a multidisciplinary team. So when you have all these entities coming together, sharing ideas openly, safely, where you can talk about new ideas without fear of any kind of retribution or anything like that, you can get a lot of good work done. So bringing those entities together and working together would be my best suggestion.
Thank you, Brooke. Next, Michelle Binkley, you have 1 minute.
Yes, I think we need to work together, and we do. I do think that St. Joe is often a leader in that. We do work with other local governments in a lot of areas, and that's why it's important that we don't just go to commission meetings as commissioners, but we go to other meetings. We go to county meetings. We go to the library board meetings. We go to other meetings so we can find out ways that we can work together with the township, with the neighboring communities, the trail systems. We're trying to work together with the whole county in different cities so that we can get a connected trail system. We're working with the county on the Silver Beach Park right now, trying to get some things that we can work with together. I know that our public safety officers and our firefighters work with the other communities to help, go to a fire or to help each other out in case of where they need another public safety officer. So I think that we are collaborative. I do think we work together. I think it's a great thing that we do that, but I do think a lot of communities look to St. Joe to be the leader.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we will have Elizabeth Thomas answer this question.
Thank you. Of course, I think the city of St. Joseph should be a leader. And I think, for example, our public safety department has been a leader throughout the county with what they've done. There needs to be open lines of communication, collaboration, and I also think it's important when making decisions that you have all the right players in the room from an intersection of local governments.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, Tess Ulrey, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, echoing some other candidates, I'd love to see us be collaborators, but leaders in that capacity as well. We have a lot of resources here in St. Joseph, but a lot of other communities have resources too. And so I think there's a way for us to bring it together and continue some of those great collaborations and still continue to be a leader in Southwest Michigan, which we definitely are.
Thank you, Tess. Next, Ben Rhymes, you have 1 minute.
I think the old saying goes, the smartest voice in the room is the room. I watched firsthand this last year and a half surviving the pandemic of all of the school districts in the county working together. And I think that collectively, all of our school age families, all of our school personnel, I think it would have hurt had one of the districts stood up and said, no, we're going to do it this way. I think that collaborative process, they met every single day, the superintendents from those districts. And I think that collaboration is what got the districts through the pandemic. And I think there is a great opportunity for greater collaboration and be a part of the voice of Berrien County.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we have Chris Leonard. Chris, do you need the question repeated, or are you ready?
No, I'm well aware of it. Collaboration is a wonderful word, and it's easy to say and it's hard to do. We have way too many governmental agencies at all levels, not only in Berrien County. As Tom pointed out, there's no reason to have 3 different water plants. There's no reasons to have jurisdictions that are willy-nilly in terms of one side of the street believes this way, the other side of the street believes that way. We need to figure out how to come together. The problem is, how do you come together? You can't come together unless you have a common belief. A very easy common belief that we could all have is have municipal boundaries based upon drainage areas. Then you've got clean water, water resources, stormwater protection, and all of those things could be coordinated through the drainage department under Chris Quatrin. And that would be a very good way to force people to be collaborative because it's my water. It's all our water. It's the lake's water. He has a good idea. We need to do water resource planning.
Thank you, Chris. Michael Cirola, you have 1 minute.
Well, collaborate seemed to be the popular word from all the candidates, and I think it's a good word. Getting together, having these discussions, sharing ideas. We can probably find areas that we're leaders in, but we can certainly find areas that some of their other local municipalities are doing maybe a little better job than us. So that collaboration is important. Just on Monday at a city commission meeting, there was a gentleman there from the county who was indicating they understand very well that one of the main attractions is Silver Beach that they own, and that the city of St. Joe is saddled with the expense of the police protection and everything that goes on around it in dealing with that. And he indicated that they're very open to the idea of sharing in that expense. That's the kind of collaboration we want to have. He also indicated the county is going to be the recipient of a lot of money that they don't quite know what to do with. We'd like to help them find some ways. So those are very important things. And I think what everybody, two others at least pointed out, the fact that we have 3 water departments and at least one of them running pretty inefficiently and causing some of the drainage problems we have.
Thank you. Wonderful. Well, we've heard some great things from a lot of great people, and we thank you all for being here. And to reset, this is News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM. I'm Johnny Reinhardt. This is Michael Arney joining me, and we've been hearing from all 8 of our 9 candidates for St. Joseph City Commission, and we thank them for joining us today as we are here live at the Box Factory. Also, thanks to TPC Technologies as well as our engineer, Terry Green, for being here. Michael, I think we have maybe time for maybe 2 questions left. So
we have one final question.
One final
remaining.
question. All right, one final question. And since this worked out perfectly with the names in the hat, the last person that will be going first is Tess Ulrey. Tess?
Okay, the question is, this is a long question. You can answer any of these questions on here that you would like. What is the role of the city commissioner in relation to the city manager and the mayor? Where should the ideas for leadership originate, or where do the ideas and the leadership originate? How do you perceive it's working now? Should anything change? And what might you do that would put your mark or signature on your time as a city commissioner? I realize there are a lot of questions there. You can answer any of them that you would like.
Thank you. My understanding of the City Commission and our role as city commissioners, I go back to my experience in nonprofits and working for boards, but also being on boards and being on that side of the coin, where yes, sometimes someone's a supervisor, sometimes the other person's a supervisor, and genuinely working collaboratively in that capacity. In terms of what I feel I would bring as a commissioner, I am the youngest. I'm the youngest candidate for city commission. Like we said, I'm a renter. I understand I'm not a traditional voice, but I think I'm an important voice. The role of a commissioner is not just to worry about what's happening in St. Joseph now, but to plan for the future. I will be here for a long time. I have 2 kids. We'll be here for a long time as well. And I hope that I can bring that voice and that vision for the future into a seat on city commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have, let's see, draw the name out of my brain hat. Let's next have Tom Jennings answer this question.
I knew you were going to pick me. That's a tough question, but I think that what my goal would be as a city commissioner is not to be center stage at all. I think the city commission should enhance the capable people of the city. The police chief, I love our city manager, John Hodgson. I told him a long time ago that I thought he should be our city manager before, when he was an assistant city manager. He's a great guy. He works hard. He's smart. And I'd like to actually, my goal would be to build these people up and make them more comfortable in their positions so they can feel even more comfortable. And that also is true for other people in the city that are not maybe the top dogs, if you will. As a commissioner, one of the things that I'll do if I'm elected is I'm going to have a policy called Open Door Friday. And Open Door Friday means that between 12 and 5, any Friday, all year long,
Thank you, Tom.
you can come in.
We'll leave that door open
There
for
you go.
for further discussion. But we'll go back up to Ben Rhymes. Ben, you have 1 minute to answer that question.
All right, let's see. From my perspective, the city commission and the city manager work very well together, and it seems like they're able to get a lot done. There are a number of boards and commissions throughout the city responsible for lots of bits and pieces to make our community run efficiently. I don't believe it's the role of the city commission to micromanage in any departments or anything. I've seen that happen on school boards. It's not pretty. The role of the city commission is to be there to empower the people, both the city employees, volunteers, and the people that work on those commissions and those planning boards, empower them to bring the best ideas forward, and to just be that voice if there is an issue that does pop up and it's something that needs to be addressed, to be that vehicle for residents to bring it to.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we'll have Brooke Thomas answer that last question. Brooke?
Thank you. I'm going to draw from my experience as board chair of the Out Center. When working with my executive director, as a board member, we really don't focus on day-to-day things. We look at more big picture things. That's the role of the executive director to handle the more day-to-day things. And that's how I kind of see working with city commissioners and management of city staff. It's important to do regular check-ins between the two entities. It's also important to stay in your lane. You don't want to be micromanaging or being completely hands-off either. You want to make sure you treat each other with respect and make sure that communication remains open and respectful. So those are the things that I see as being important.
Thank you, Brooke. We will next have Chris Leonard. Chris, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I guess my belief is that if we're going to change the way the world's working, we're going to have to start with a bottom-up approach. The top-down or trickle-down approach really hasn't worked. We, the people, have to take charge of the government. So I think as a commissioner, you need to be responsive to the people who have elected you. But then part of that decision-making, as other people have mentioned, is that the village manager and the department heads have to be qualified, have to be capable, have to perform. And so therefore, to the citizens elect the commissioners make sure the department heads do the job that they are being paid for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next to Michelle Binkley, you have 1 minute.
Yes, as a commissioner, I think it's important to represent the city and the residents. And you also need to know that it's important to understand the roles of the city employees. So I've really gotten to know all the roles of the city employees so I can understand better how to support them and know what they do. You have to review and research all things that come before the commission. Our city manager brought us through a pandemic in an amazing way. So we do think that he did a great job. He works really well with the city employees who are very dedicated employees. We did just have, you might have read about it in the paper, we did just have his review and we support him and we asked him about ways that we could support him. And so I want to tell you that we do have a great plan of action coming up. And I just think that we do have our city employees really work hard and I just think that our city manager has done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Next, Michael Cirola. Michael, you have 1 minute.
Could you read the question again? Because I feel like there was
Yes.
multiple parts and then we're only getting to part
Yep,
one.
there
'Cause-
are
and I've already
several
forgotten
parts
the other
Yep.
parts.
You can answer any of the part of this that you would
All
like. The questions actually are, what is the role of the city commissioner in relation to the city manager and possibly the mayor? Where should the ideas and leadership originate? How do you perceive how it's working now? Should it change in any way? And most importantly, what might you do that would put your mark or signature on your time as a city commissioner?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I see the role as a commissioner as a high-level leader. And I think the role of a high-level leader is really to set the tone for a culture. And I'd like to see the culture in the city to be one that's very opening, that isn't intimidating to go to City Hall. That's one of the things I've heard on the 1,900 doors I've knocked on, that they don't feel comfortable going there. So I think it's about a culture change. And do I think there's bad people working in the city? No, not at all. But I think it's a leadership change that maybe makes people aware that they need to be a little bit more welcoming. And then I think we just need to make sure we're responsive, we're effective, and we're good stewards of the taxpayer money. I think those are the overreaching goals that I would like to leave a mark on the city commission with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And lastly, we have Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I think the city commission's role is to create the policies of our city and to look at the big picture, to stay out of the weeds. so to speak, and trust our very competent staff to do their jobs. What I plan to do is to find a balance between a fiscally sound, stable, and responsive city government while supporting all our residents, neighborhoods, and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, Michael Arney, for being our questionnaire person. I think that's what you call it. And I am Johnny Reinhardt, and we thank you for not only watching on our WSJM Facebook page, you've been catching this live. And if you have been sitting and watching the entire thing, that's great because we're just about wrapped up here. But if you're just catching it on your Facebook feed as you're scrolling through looking at other things, that's all right. You can check this out live or check that Facebook Live video out later on demand on our WSJM Facebook page as we lead into the primaries that are coming up on August 3rd. And again, this is the WSJM Candidate Forum for St. Joseph's 2021 City Commission primary election. We have heard from 8 of our 9 candidates. Unfortunately, Mark Williams was not able to join us because he's on vacation, but don't let that change the way you think. We want this to be something that gives you great information, and I feel like we accomplished that today. And you could have heard from your neighbors here in St. Joseph, and we appreciate you for doing that. And again, you can also check this out as a podcast at WSJM.com and find it through the WSJM app as well. I believe that's all we have for you today. I want to say a big thank you to our friends at TPC Technologies for putting this together or helping us with the technical side of things with our technical director, Terry Green. I want to thank all of our candidates again for joining us, as well as you joining us at home or wherever you are. And it took a lot to put this all together. The box here at the Box Factory and have all these people that you're able to hear from. Again, thank you to TPC Technologies and owner Ken Kiespert. Thank you to Zach East behind the camera on our Facebook Live, as well as Gail Olson and Paul Landecker. I don't know if you guys really did anything. You guys are just kind of over there, but you're there. But also thank you for some of the people that have joined us here at the Box Factory. I'm Johnny Reinhardt, along with Michael Arney, and this is News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM. Thank you.